Good day, Crime Talk aficionados. It's Saturday. So what does that mean? One thing, that's right, our weekly recap of the top stories of every day throughout the week. Take a look. Make sure you join us next week so you never miss anything. Have a great day. First on the docket, fine, Duggar, who knew? Well, apparently everyone but me. And I will be the first to admit when I was wrong. I should have looked at the pronunciation for Joshua Duggar, rhymes with hugger, before I pronounced it Duggar. Who knew? Anyway, you want to see a bunch of comments? You think you'd get a bunch of comments when you come out with a brilliant legal analysis, explain something? No. But mispronounced an alleged pedophile's name, and everybody comes to his defense saying, no, make sure you get it pronounced correctly. It's Duggar. Well, I guarantee you, once Joshua Duggar gets out of custody, he's going to wish his name was pronounced Duggar. So there you go. As you may recall from last week, Joshua Duggar was charged with 2 counts. 1 count of receipt of child pornography and possession of child pornography. He has court later this week for a detention hearing, and we'll see if Joshua Duggar gets out of custody. He certainly won't be returning home because one of the conditions of his bond release, if the court finds that he is appropriate for release, would to be that he not be around anyone under the age of 18. Good call there. From here on out, maybe once we have an inmate booking number, we'll just refer to Mr. Duggar by his inmate number, or maybe we'll just have him say it himself.
Hello, I'm Josh Duggar. Hello, I'm Josh Duggar. Hello, I'm Josh Duggar.
Leticia Stouk, for those who do not recall, she has been charged, and this case has been nothing but a mess from the beginning. It was originally delayed because of COVID. It was delayed because Leticia Stouk was arrested in South Carolina and brought back. She fired her attorneys. She was going to do it pro se. The court granted that request to proceed pro se, and now she is asking for an attorney. Let's take a look at what she actually filed. Here's a handwritten motion filed with the court by Leticia Stouk. It states, I, Leticia Stouk, hereby request the appointment of a state attorney instead of the public defender's office. And then the majority of the pleading is blacked out, redacted, and there's just a signature at the bottom, or signed, Leticia Stouk. Now, what does this really mean? The court took this as a motion to appoint the public defender. The court has set this matter for a hearing tomorrow afternoon at 3 p.m., basically for an appearance of counsel. This is going to further delay the proceedings. Why, you might ask? Well, once the public defender is off the case, they stop working on it. They're going to have to once again get up to speed, reschedule hearing dates that I'm sure have already been set with other matters because this case was off their docket. So anticipate the preliminary hearing, proof evident presumption, great hearing being delayed. Now, what Leticia Stouk is also asking for is not what the judge gave her. Now, when one is in custody, you have a right to an attorney, and therefore you would be appointed the public defender. If there is a conflict, then a private attorney would be appointed at state expense from the Office of the Alternate Defense Counsel. But there has to be an ethical conflict that would warrant the public defender to get off. Here, irreconcilable differences simply to the effect of you cannot get along with the Office of the Public Defender, you don't like their attorneys, whatever, is not an ethical conflict. That's why the court reappointed the Office of the Public Defender. If the public defender believes that there's an ethical conflict, they would then have to file a motion to withdraw, and then a private attorney would be appointed to represent Ms. Stouk. But there doesn't appear to be anything, and therefore she is going to get, more than likely, the same public defenders that she didn't like that were on the case previously. We will keep you up to date on how this hearing goes tomorrow. Barry Morphy, does that name ring a bell? That's right. His wife went missing on Mother's Day of last year. And as we rapidly approach Mother's Day in 2021, almost a year to the date, that's right, Barry Morphy has been taken into custody. As you may recall, Suzanne Morphy went missing on Mother's Day in 2020. No one had seen her. Barry Morphy, the husband, said he was down here in Broomfield, Colorado, literally not far from the CrimeTalk studios, getting ready to do a landscaping job at a hotel. Well, Barry says he's cooperated with the police. I got nothing to do. She must have been eaten by a bear or a mountain lion. We don't know what it was. Well, the police have kept very quiet, and there's going to be a press conference at 3 p.m. today, and we're going to bring it to you live. As of right now, and understand we give Mr. Morphy the presumption of innocence like we do anyone who's been charged but not yet convicted by a jury of his or her peers and or a plea agreement. Well, Barry Morphy has been taken into custody, and he has been charged with first-degree murder after deliberation. That is a Class 1 felony, and it carries up to a maximum penalty of life in prison. He also faces charges for tampering with evidence as well as attempting to influence a public official. You may ask, well, attempting to influence a public official, what is that supposed to mean? Well, that's kind of like when the police ask you, which way did the bad guy go? And you knew that he went to the right, and you tell the police to go to the left. That's what that charge really is about. And in this particular case, they feel as though they must have enough evidence, obviously, to bring the charge, but also to be successful at trial. We will continue to bring you new evidence and information as it becomes available. Please go to CrimeTalkSearch.com, sign up for a background subscription service. You'll be happy you did. If there's anyone out there you were ever curious about what was in their background, now is the time to do it. If you're going to get involved with somebody, now is the time to do it. When you go to CrimeTalkSearch.com, you put in the name, literally millions of public records are searched, and a report is generated. And it's going to give you a report. If they have multiple social media accounts, you're going to find it. If they have multiple phone numbers, multiple email addresses, it's going to be found. And more importantly, you're going to get information regarding criminal history. Hopefully the person you're searching has none whatsoever. But if it's there, it's going to be found. You're going to get everything you'd want to know, whether you're going into business or whether you're going into a personal relationship. You're going to be able to find out the information you want to know. So go to CrimeTalkSearch.com, sign up today. You'll be happy you did. Barry Morphy appeared in court today. For those of you who are not familiar with this, Suzanne Morphy, the wife of Barry Morphy, disappeared almost a year to the date on Mother's Day after she allegedly went for a bike ride and never came home. Barry Morphy states that he was down in Broomfield, Colorado. It couldn't have been me. Well, as he was kind of packing up and getting ready to head out of town, the police made their move and the district attorney agreed to file charges. I guess he's not going to make his daughter's graduation from the University of Colorado this weekend. What took place today? Well, Barry Morphy appeared in a orange and white jail striped uniform. He was assisted by the Office of the Public Defender. The public defender has been appointed to represent him. The judge gave Barry Morphy his Rule 5 advisement, advising him that he has a right to an attorney, that he has a right to remain silent, and that anything he says can be used against him. If there is going to be a plea in this case, that it has to be voluntarily made. He also stated that he has a right to a trial, and he has a right to a trial within 6 months from the date that he says not guilty. Well, that's still a few months down the road for sure. The court set a no bond hold given the nature of the charges, the most serious obviously being first-degree murder after deliberation. There's tampering with evidence as well as attempting to influence a public official charges as well. The affidavit for the arrest warrant still remains sealed. The public defender was given a copy of that affidavit. We will have to wait a little longer. Hopefully by the next court date, which is now set for May 27th, that will be for the official filing of charges. The other interesting part of this hearing was the fact that an 18-1001 protection order was put in place. That's simply the statute cite here in the state of Colorado. They're issued in every criminal case, and it says that you must not harass, molest, retaliate against any witness in this case. Well, normally it's a no contact order. Don't go near any of those people. But a couple of the witnesses in the case, that's right, Barry Morphy's daughters, Mallory and Macy, are not under that no contact order. Barry Morphy can have contact with them if they reach out to him. I find this somewhat interesting given the fact that now their father is accused formally of killing their mother. We'll see if they continue to stand behind their father or if they sit on the other side of the courtroom the next time that he appears in court. We will keep you apprised of developments as they become available. Things just went from bad to worse for those ex-Minneapolis police officers. Why, you may ask? Well, a federal grand jury indicted former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin and 3 of the other former officers charged in violating George Floyd's civil rights last year during his arrest, which caused his death. A move that could offer further accountability in this case, and obviously we know it sparked a whole lot of controversy. Prosecutors have charged that Chauvin, Alexander Koenig, Tao, who participated in apprehending Floyd, who's black, will stand trial on 2 counts each. Former police officer Thomas Lane will face a single charge in the case. This announcement came less than 3 weeks after Derek Chauvin was found guilty of 3 counts regarding the death of George Floyd. He is now awaiting sentencing. In a separate indictment, Chauvin will also face 2 counts of violating the rights of a 14-year-old boy during an arrest in September of 2017, in which the officer is accused of holding the boy by the neck and hitting him twice with a flashlight, resulting in injuries. Koenig, Lane, and Tao are facing state charges as well of aiding and abetting the second-degree murder and manslaughter in the case of Floyd's death. Their trial is set to begin in late August. Koenig is black, Lane is white, and Tao is Asian American. The federal charges could obviously add additional time to any penalties that Derek Chauvin is going to receive, in addition to any charges that the other officers may be found guilty of if they are in fact found guilty. Now, the federal government says that they have a responsibility to protect the civil rights of every American and to pursue justice to the fullest extent of the law. That was a statement by the Attorney General up there in Minnesota, Keith Ellison. Now, the Justice Department believes that this decision to bring charges against the officers was the result of an intensive investigation where they had attorneys on the ground for months, not because of the violence or the current atmosphere at the Department of Justice, simply about the law. Now, of course, it would seem as though if they were going to bring civil rights violations, they could have done it before the Derek Chauvin trial and had a federal trial, but they waited until the very end. Don't you wish that the government would protect everybody's civil rights as Americans? That would seem to make sense as well. It's a shame that it has to bring the death of a man for civil rights to be enforced because, you know, we have those. All Americans do. That's the purpose of government, right? The purpose of government is not to protect you, but to make sure that when others violate your civil rights, that there is a prosecution. There is a remedy for that. The job of the government is to protect your civil rights. That's it. That's all anyone should ask for from the government. Now, historically, winning convictions against officers has been somewhat difficult. Prosecutors needed to clear a higher standard than in a normal self-defense case. And there's been a study that found in a period between 2005 to 2014, when perhaps 10,000 Americans were allegedly killed by police, 153 officers were charged, or about 1.5%. Now, this is according to a database maintained by Philip Matthew Stinson at Bowling Green University. Of those cases, 139 resulted in dispositions, i.e., a plea bargain or some sort of conviction at trial. 55% of those cases resulted in convictions, most by a guilty plea. Now, this database that's maintained by Mr. Stinson also captures non-shooting cases. His research found 58 murder or manslaughter cases that did not involve a gun. Of the 51 cases with known results, about 65% resulted in a conviction, but only 47% of the cases ended with a felony conviction. Take those numbers and think about that. Historically, police officers have been charged when they clearly cross the line. I'm sure lots of people, as have I, have seen cases where you thought charges should have been filed, but were not because the police were given the benefit of the doubt. Obviously, we've seen a change of that in the last year, and I think that trend is going to continue until, well, probably to the point where you can't get police officers to serve anymore because, frankly, it's just too dangerous. And who's going to go literally try to get killed making roughly $60,000 a year? Most people think that may not be worth it. I think I'll try to do something a little less risky. We'll obviously continue to follow all of these cases related to the death of George Floyd. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you next time on Crime Talk.